Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Author Collaborative. As always, I will be talking to a fellow author whose book I have recently read and enjoyed. We'll be talking about our latest books, one of which I have read and one of mine which she has read. So I am really excited for this week's guest to join me because the book that I have read of hers, there's a similarity between our books, my book Love and Melodrama, and her book Love in a Metro. They both focus on the city of Mumbai, and they talk so vividly about the city that a reader is compelled to fall in love with the city and the characters. I'm really excited to talk to her. So without further ado, I'm just going to invite her and begin today's episode. Do stay tuned. I'm waiting for today's guest to join me so we can begin the episode. Do stay tuned. I'm really excited to talk to her. Hello, Ruchi. So nice to see you.
Hey, Mana, it's so good to see you.
Welcome to today's
Thank you.
episode.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and thank you for joining me today. I was just telling the viewers that, I have read your book, Love in a Metro, and the one similarity that struck me, between both our latest books is that we focus on the city of Mumbai. I love Mumbai city.
Yeah,
I'm a Mumbaiker. And the way you have written about Mumbai, it reminded me of my own story because I have also focused so much on the city that it's a
correct,
character in itself. And so
correct.
it's the same in your book as well.
True, true, true. Mumbai is the essence of both the books, actually.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
So, before we go ahead, I want you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ruchi. I have about 25 books of mine published, all available on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm basically a romance author. I write short stories, novels, a little bit of poetry as well. So that's about me.
Yes, since we are talking about book, and with before I pound you with the questions that I have for you, I want
Mhm.
the audience to get a look into the book. Let's first look at the cover. So this is the book that we are talking about, Ruchi's book, Love in a Metro, and I have a lot of questions for her
I
related
have
to the book.
painted that cover. Are you aware?
I was about to ask that, because you have written in your bio that you are a painter. And I was pretty sure when I looked at it that this is hand painted.
Every book cover of mine is hand painted. I paint them.
Wonderful. So beautiful. Let's look at it once again so that we can appreciate the artist Ruchi also.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'm just going to read out a few paras from the book, and particularly those paragraphs which I absolutely enjoyed. And also because they have a similarity with my book again. It's just a role reversal. So yeah, I'm going to read this. Mornings were a rush hour on the train, and my dad had insisted that I travel in first class, just to be safe and not get into too much push or pull at every station. It was often said that in a Mumbai local, all one had to do was somehow get closer to the door when your train stop came, and rest the crowd would manage by pushing you onto the station. I often wondered what would happen to those traveling for the first time and those who had no clue about this. They would get dropped at any random station. The thought made me chuckle. I stood near the door, catching my breath as the train moved. A tall guy suddenly appeared on the station, running at full speed towards the train. I paused to watch him. He was tall, and his long strides were hilarious to watch as he ran wearing black leather shoes, black trousers, and a full sleeve sky blue shirt towards the train. I realized he was trying to catch this train which was catching speed now. On impulse, I yelled at him for attention and extended my hand out. He lunged forward and grabbed my hand. I held on to the bar at the side of the door for my life, both of our lives actually, as I tried to pull him in. He jumped forward one more time and I managed to pull him in. Both of us crashed inside the train, laughing in a heap. Thank you, he gushed as he caught my other hand to steady me. No problem, I laughed as I untangled myself from him. Wow, what an adventure, I thought. I barely ever stepped out of my comfort zone, and this qualified as once in a lifetime adventure for sure. So, since you have read the book and without giving any spoilers, I want to tell the audience that something similar also happens in my book.
Yeah.
Yes. And Thank you for that. I mean, I was like, when I was reading the book, I was like, oh my God, she gets me. Without, without ever, having spoken at length, we get each other. And
Correct,
we were
correct.
connected by this wonderful books that we have both written.
Yeah, true, true. That's very true.
Okay, Ruchi. So based on my questions, based on my reading of the book, and as
Hmm.
much as I know you, I have a few questions for you. Are you ready to
Okay.
answer them?
Yeah,
My
excited to.
first question to you: you already mentioned that you are a multidiscipline author. You write poetry, you write short stories, and you also write novels plus novels, full length novels as well. So why, as in your experience in writing such multiple genres and formats of writing, how do you make the switch? And what are the few things that you keep in mind when you're making that switch from a poetry to a short story or to a novel?
Well, frankly, I do not set out to write a short story or a novel per se. It all depends on the way the story evolves. Okay, so I always begin with an idea, and then the story gets cooked inside the head. And depending on how it evolves, how it needs to be narrated, the story builds up on its own. I always feel that, I start somewhere, I have the starting and the ending in my mind, but rest of the story gets written on its own accord. The characters start taking shape, they start narrating their story. So, that's how my stories at least evolve. It comes out with those emotions, and, I go through that entire cycle of, how the characters are evolving,
Okay.
how they are responding, and all of that.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's like, I feel that, within this shorter span, the story is kind of complete, and, I do not want to drag it unnecessarily, so I stick to a short story. But if the story is progressing further and, there is a lot to be discussed, a lot to be told, then it becomes a full-fledged novel per se. And as for poetry, it just happens. It's just a thought, a feeling,
Mhm.
a feeling which you just put into words and it becomes poetry. So
Yeah,
it's
that's so wonderfully put. Yes, because I am an avid poetry lover and writer myself. I always say that if I had to choose one form of writing that I have to do for a lifetime, I will always choose poetry because I express myself best when I'm writing poetry.
correct, correct, correct.
So I
It's
totally get
it
what
just
you're saying.
happens, and
Yeah,
you cannot sit down that this is my fixed time to write poetry. At least
exactly.
that
Yes.
doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it has to come off. Yeah.
True, true. Okay. And my next question to you is that since you are an indie author like myself, and we rely a lot on our own self, it's mostly DIY for us. We
Correct,
learn as
correct,
we go when we are
correct.
indie authors.
True, true.
So, based on your experience, and since you mentioned that you have written over 20 books, which is almost, no, not almost, even more than double of what I have written. So, I want to understand from you, can you share a few marketing strategies that have worked for you as an indie author?
I'm actually not big on marketing at all. I am a one person army when it comes to my books. I write them, I edit them, I design the covers, I do the marketing on my own. So, for marketing, what I have tried a lot of things. I released paperback versions. I tried to promote through the publishers. I tried to put out ads and posters on social media. I even tried to get those a lot of book reviewers on Insta to do my reviews, right? But then I gave up on all of that very soon. A couple of books I tried all that, but then I gave up on all of that, and I just focused on my work. I have a little reader base of my own who are looking forward to, like, coming next book that I write, and who diligently read my books. So really thankful to those handful of my readers, and that's it. I feel that, your work has to ultimately speak out. I'm really bad at marketing, so it's like, it's just out there, and whoever stumbles upon it reads it, and some of them reach back to me saying that, we read this particular book and whatever, and some of them, obviously, I have no idea who's reading my books, so it's all there.
Yeah, I love the way you honestly answered that. And being an indie author myself, I can, vouch for the fact that we try a lot of things that, we feel will work, but they ultimately don't work. So it's
Correct,
like
correct.
trial and error only.
It's all trial and error. It's like, fumbling in the dark. You have to go by what you feel is right at that moment by with your gut feeling. Some things work out, some things don't work out. So it's like, so I can very clearly say I've tried everything, but now I'm like, I'll just probably focus on my work and let
And
it
so
be.
true. And one more thing that I want to add to that is when you're consistent with publishing on platforms like Amazon, I think most of the marketing Amazon does from its end itself.
Correct,
It will
correct,
help you reach new readers if you are very consistent with your writing.
correct,
That's what I have observed in
correct,
my
correct.
experience.
Yeah, true.
Yes. So I am done with my side of the question. Since you have also read my book, I want to leave the floor open to you now.
Awesome. So, the book I've read from you is Love and Melodrama. There was nothing mellow about the drama that was in there. I love the book. As I wrote the review also, it's like, very filmy story. And somewhere I like that bit that, a very filmy story and that was very nice. It had a very nice feel to it. Uh, and I just want to read one passage from it, which I really loved it.
Before
So here it
you go
goes.
ahead, we have a few encouraging comments from our viewers, so I just want to thank them. Anil Shri is saying, appreciate your honesty. Shilpa is saying, wow, loved your honesty. It's the simplicity that connects. And
Thank you.
Book Lover Undying Love is also saying, wow. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, guys.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll read a passage from yours, which I really enjoyed. Okay, here it goes. As he began to open the door, the fragrance hit his senses before he saw who it was. It was a sweet, rosy smell, inviting him to get lost within its embrace. Then came the jingling of bangles, followed by a flurry of pastel fabric, and he knew right away who the intruder was. We see what happens when I concentrate on your love story rather than focusing on. She began speaking even before the door was completely open and stopped mid sentence. A few seconds passed while they stared at each other, Varun with curiosity and Gayatri with shyness. Mm, he was enjoying her discomfort as she determinedly looked anywhere but at him while fidgeting continuously with her dupatta. Did you forget something? He asked in an attempt to take the conversation further. Yes, my heart. The second the words left her mouth, she stuck her tongue out and hit herself on the forehead with her palm. It was such a cute gesture that Varun laughed out loud and was tempted to engulf her in a hug. Clearing her throat and with a defiant expression on her face, she went on, I mean my clutch. It is my heart because it has my phone and dance class ID. I love the way she came back in this one, right? She spoke my heart and then she like, quickly recovered and came back. It was really sweet passage
And
which had
while I
me
was writing this scene, it played itself out. I was not, planning the conversation. I was like, Gayatri will react like this only. Given the kind of character
correct,
that she
correct.
is, she's obviously going to fluster and answer something like this only.
Correct, correct, correct. No, it came out very well. So it's like, I was nicely grinning while I was reading this passage. So
Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it.
So I also had a couple of questions for you. So basically, I wanted to ask you, Manali, you also write poetry and stories and all of that. So how do you go about writing a story? Do you have it like fully planned and visualized in your mind before you start writing? Or you also go along creating it, while writing it? How does it happen?
So the broader plot is always there in my mind before I start writing a novel, which is the longer form of fiction. For short stories, I am a pantser. I go as per the characters tell me. But for novels, I've written two novels now, and for both of them, I always knew what the ending was before I begin writing the book itself. Before I even began writing the prologue, I knew what the ending was going to be. So, in that sense, I had a plot line in my mind from the beginning. And after that, my process is that I go chapter wise. I first
Okay.
plot plot out the entire chapter, and then I, begin to fill the pages in that particular chapter. I
Hmm.
do it chapter wise, the plotting, and then
Okay.
I let the characters be. I know the
Hmm.
broader scenes that are going to happen.
Hmm.
For
Correct, correct.
instance, in the chapter that you just read out, I knew that they are going to meet for the second time. I knew the
Hmm.
characters were going to interact with each other for the second time, and they are going to
Hmm.
meet in a similar situation. In the
Hmm.
first scene, they were meeting during the Ram Navami celebrations. Now they were
Correct.
meeting from the Ganpati celebrations. I knew that,
Hmm.
but I had to, make it different in a manner that in the first one she was embarrassed, and I also wanted her to be a little more embarrassed in this one
Hmm.
also. So yeah, so that's how I
That's
plan the entire two chapters, and that's how I
hmm.
go with each chapter for the entire course of the book.
Okay.
For poetry
Okay.
and short stories, I'm always a prankster. I go as per my mood. For poetry, it's as per my mood, and for short stories, it's always a prankster. I know the general storyline, but then I let the characters decide their fate.
Lovely, lovely. I think most of the authors they start with an idea, and I think they just go along.
Yeah.
A lot of it gets created while it's while you're writing and all of
Yes.
that. So I suppose,
True,
yeah.
true. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot of encouraging comments from everyone. This is a super cute passage. How filmy Manali, I got to read this soon. It appears in. Thank you so much, Tanvi, Nilshri, and Shilpa. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is a cute book. You'll enjoy if you like light-hearted cute books. So, okay. The other question I wanted to ask you, Manali, was what made you want to become an author?
So, my journey of becoming a writer and an author, I call it a long process of elimination because I started somewhere and I ended somewhere else.
Oh,
All through that journey, reading and my love for language was the only thing that stuck by me. I began my professional, I started my first job as a marketing executive where, I was
oh,
doing content as well as, I was doing cold pitching and content and a lot of other things, which, out of all that, only content creation appealed to me. So I was like,
okay.
बाकी सब तो नहीं होगा, यही करना है मुझे. And
Sweet.
then I worked as a teacher also. I was teaching English
Oh,
because
okay.
I figured that I have a love for language. I would love teaching also. I tried teaching English to primary school children,
Okay.
and there also, while I was doing the job, I realized that rather than I enjoy teaching, but more than the teaching part, I was enjoying the creation of the lesson plans and creating all the activities for the children, using my creative mind here and there. Instead of just teaching, I was enjoying that part more. So उसके
Okay.
बाद I realized that I have to become a full-time content writer or just start doing something which is related to more of creativity and it's not like ये करना है task
Hmm.
wise जो होता है ना I'm not made for
Correct.
those kind of jobs. So
Okay.
yeah, that's how the realization came that I have to be in a field where my creativity is constantly challenged and I'm on my feet all the time. Like I have a very restless mind. So if my creativity is not getting channeled anywhere at each moment during the day when I'm active, I will be easily bored. So that's how
Hmm.
I came to the realization that there is only one profession which can fall into this, and which is, the profession of a storyteller and a content creator. That's how it came about.
Lovely. Lovely. You at least thought about it. I just became an author
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Wow. But that's good for you, right? I mean, you are able to do both. I am somebody who can only do, like, you are also doing a job, if I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah. A
And
proper IT
then,
job. I'm an IT consultant, so I'm an
yeah,
engineer by education, and it just happened for me.
that's what I have a huge respect for people, who are doing jobs also, and, they are also managing to be indie authors and content creators alongside that. So, wow.
Thank you, thank you.
That I think that's about it. I think we have covered the questions that we had for each other related to the book and our writing
Yeah,
journey. Now
yeah.
we come to my favorite part of the episode, which is the rapid fire round. Are you
Ah,
ready, Ruchi?
yes.
Okay, let me just quickly open my question. So my
I have
first
a
question to
question.
you is a romance writer that you would love to interact with or collaborate with.
Um, I am already interacting with a lot of authors right now, but one I would want to interact with would be Olivia Hale. There's not a single book of hers which I have not liked. So, I would really love to, interact more with her and get to know how uh, she goes about the process and all of that.
That's wonderful. Yeah, good choice. I agree.
You've read her books? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Okay. So my first question for you. Who's your most favorite Indian romance author?
Shilpa Suraj.
Lovely choice. Lovely choice.
Hands down.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
started reading her books in during the pandemic, I think. Yeah, 2020 I started and I have not stopped. And I mean,
Yeah.
her books are not just entertaining. I think they work really well as study material also for romance authors.
Correct, correct,
They're
correct.
like a guide on how we can go about structuring and writing our own story. So that's why I
Yes.
admire her so much.
Yeah. And she's a very warm person. I have interacted
Yes.
with her. She's a very warm person, a
Yes.
wonderful writer. Yeah. Lovely she is.
Yes. So my next question to you is one book, movie, or show that you loved as a child, but now it makes you cringe.
Chandrakanta. As a kid, I have watched it like, almost every episode of it. But now when I think back, oh my God, what was I doing?
Why did I like this? What is this?
You liked it? I used to love it at that time.
Yeah, yeah, same,
I used to love it.
same. I can
Yeah,
totally understand your feeling.
yeah,
I also
right?
love Chandrakanta. Like, religiously every weekend, ये तो देखना ही है.
Ah,
वैसा.
correct, correct. And they had so many songs and those lavish big costumes and sets and all that. It was good fantasy thing at that time. But now it's like, oh God, what were we watching?
True, true. There were so many such teen shows I can recall. There was Remix also. If you have watched Remix, where there was four main characters who were going to a school, and they also had a musical band of sorts. I used to follow
Okay.
it like crazy. Now when I look at it, I'm like, क्या देखती थी मैं यार?
And that time, actually, the time when we grew up, there was not so much of options, right? TV and all of that. It was like, very limited time.
Hmm.
And whatever was coming, everybody in the family used to watch.
Hmm.
It was not like that, only the elders will watch, only the kids will
Ah,
watch. So we
exactly.
used to literally,
Yeah,
the whole
we
family
have.
would get together.
We have Ashi here who is also saying Chandrakanta, Tipu Sultan, Ramayana, Mahabharat.
Oh, I
Those
love
were
Tipu Sultan. I love Tipu Sultan. Yeah. Mahabharat and Ramayana, for the record, I watched it again when it came
no,
during COVID
but
lockdown.
I still like Mahabharat and
Yeah,
Ramayana. It's
yeah,
still
yeah.
good.
I watched it diligently. I made my son also watch Ramayana and Mahabharat during the COVID lockdown.
I think they are going to start it again also after this all controversy with Aditya Rosh. They are going to restart in
Quite,
July, I think. Yeah.
quite possible. Ira
Good
says,
old
Alif
nostalgia.
Laila.
Uh, Alif Laila.
Yeah, yeah,
Chitrahar,
yeah.
yes, Chitrahar also.
Chitrahar and Rangoli early in the morning. That was the only time I used to wake up so early on Sunday mornings to watch
Yes.
Rangoli of all
Oh
the
my God,
things.
we have gone down like memory lane.
Seriously.
Uh, if anyone recalls any more shows, please comment and we can discuss those also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll do all that.
I also remember Rishte on Z. That was also a beautiful show.
Rishte. Ha, correct.
And then, of course, there was Malgudi Days. How can you forget
Malgudi
that?
Days was there. Hum Panch was there.
Yes.
Uh, then that one was there. Dekh Bhai Dekh.
Dekh Bhai Dekh
Someone's
was very good.
messaging. Dekh Bhai Dekh was beautiful,
Yeah.
right? Shaktiman.
And
Oh yeah, how can we forget Shaktiman?
there is also another school wala show, Hip Hip Hooray. That was also very good.
Yeah, correct, correct.
We can do a live for just TV shows.
Yeah, we'll all go live and we'll just talk about those.
करिश्मा का करिश्मा ये तेरा घर ये मेरा घर oh my god.
Correct. Vyomkesh Bakshi Gee, that was a good one.
Okay, yes.
That was a good one. Till the end, you
And
couldn't
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a lovely one.
Wow. Such wonderful memories. We have opened up like, Pitara, Khazana.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
You
So
are your
I,
turn.
yeah,
Oh,
my turn,
yeah. So
right?
I was to Tarabai. Nilshi, what have you done now? So I will not stop only.
We'll have to go back and see some of these again. We'll have to
Yeah.
find their reruns and watch. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah. So my question for you is, which other genre do you read other than romance?
So for me, on the top, there is always a tie between romance and thrillers. I
Romance
have
and
read thrillers.
thrillers.
I have read as much romance, as much thrillers as I have read romance. These two top categories, and then comes fantasy.
I've read more thrillers and mysteries than romance. Yeah.
Actually, even if I also sit down to think and count, I think मेरा भी mysteries thrillers ज़्यादा होगा romance.
Mysteries I have been reading since, like, forever. Romance I've started recently.
No, no, I have done both, but अगर मैं भी गिनने बैठूं तो मुझे लगता है कि mystery और thrillers ज़्यादा होंगे.
Oh, but all right.
Okay. A hero in your novel you have visualized as an actor while writing their character.
Aditya Roy Kapoor for Prince Ranjit Singh Rathore. Yeah, for
And
the
which book
book
is this?
Touch of Love.
Okay. Okay. I have to read this book now because then only I can tell you if I can also visualize
That's
Aditya Roy
that's
Kapoor.
part that's part of series.
Oh,
Oh, Ashi wants Yash. Whom do you think Ashi Yash would be?
yes. Tell us, Ashi,
Ashi,
which
tell us.
character? I
I
mean,
have someone in mind, but I'll wait for Ashi to tell us. Till then, probably we should go to our next question.
so I also have somebody in mind. When I was reading uh, तनय के अलावा दूसरा कौन सा कैरेक्टर है इसमें? आई एम फॉरगेटिंग हिज नेम. एस से जो नाम. हाँ. When I was reading him, I was imagining Vikrant Massey. I was like, ये बंदा सही है. He
Hmm.
can fit well. I love Aditya as Ranjit. Yash, I have visualized him as Vicky. Hmm.
Yash is Vicky. I would say Abhishek Bachchan. No,
Okay.
this Vicky Kaushal.
Nice. Vicky Kaushal.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understood. You don't have to correct when you said Vicky. Like there was a
Yes.
typo, but I understood you meant Vicky Kaushal.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Okay. Now,
Since we
my
are on the
next.
topic,
Hmm.
we are on this topic. I have, like, on the spur of moment, I have a question for you. Whom did you imagine as Varun Agarwal?
Varun Agarwal. Hmm. Hmm. Very filmy, na? I was thinking of Varun Dhawan actually.
Ah, nice. But when I was writing his character, just because of the height, I only had, Siddharth Malhotra in mind.
Hmm.
कि उसका height है ना, Varun Dhawan is not that tall.
That tall. Hmm.
Hmm.
Nice. But it's more little very filmy character, no? So that's where
हाँ,
I felt it has to be a little bubbly.
हाँ.
So
Yes, Varun Dhawan is that kind of a character, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Moving
All
on. I
right.
think it's your turn.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, where do you draw your inspiration from? Movies, books, or TV shows, series?
Uh, from series, it has not happened yet. Mostly from books, yeah, because I'm more of a reader than I'm, more of a bibliophile than I'm a cinephile. I have read more books than I've watched movies. So first books, then movies. And series probably
Okay.
recently I have started being addicted to them. So that's the last. वो वैसे भी अभी तक इंस्पिरेशन आया नहीं है उससे कुछ.
Nice, nice, lovely.
Okay. My next question to you is Shilpa is saying casting directors बन गए. Yes. Yeah, authors get very excited when they have to pick
When we
actors and characters.
when we talk about characters, we are always this excited.
Okay, my next question to you is because both of our books have more than one point of view. So I wanted to ask you that do you enjoy single point of view or multiple point of view?
Multiple,
Which one do you prefer as a reader and as a writer?
multiple, multiple. Always multiple. I feel that gives better, full picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For me
I
also.
always write in multiple also
Yeah,
because
same here. In both my
yeah,
novels, I have also written multiple POV.
yeah,
And it's always enjoyable. I think for readers also, it provides a full picture. Like you,
correct.
you are not getting
Both
one perspective.
sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, both perspectives you get.
Yes. Okay, your turn.
Okay. So, whenever you're going through a reading slump,
Hmm.
one author you always turn to get out of
Okay, so
this.
I am a Pakka 90s kid. I was like a proper child in the 90s. So the two authors that I always go back to because I've read them extensively during my childhood and my teenage and early 20s. For thrillers, Sidney Sheldon, and for romance, Nicholas Sparks. I go back to these
Classics.
whenever I'm like, I'm not able to find a book, or if I'm reading a book and I'm like, ये नहीं मजा आ रहा है, so I go back to these two because I know कि ये तो मुझे अच्छा लगने ही वाला है.
Mm, correct. Good. Okay.
Dr. Gray as Varun Agarwal. Thank you. How much time do you guys take to finish your first draft? Okay, you want to go first?
No, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so for both the novels that I wrote, in fact, the first novel that I wrote, it's a record that I'm trying to break myself now because I wrote the entire book in 2.5 months. And that was like,
Nice.
I was not able to fulfill that record for my second one, which took about 8 months.
So, for me, it varies a lot. I have written first draft in flat 3 to 5 days,
Oh,
and
wow.
I have also written first draft in say like 2.5 months. So for me, I don't know. Initially, until it just once it gets going, it's like it's very fast for me. It's then I'm writing like crazy. Apart from every work, I'll just sacrifice my sleep completely and I'll just start writing. Early morning, I would be writing. Late at night, I would be writing. Middle of the day, I'll sneak out and I'll start writing. So, but till the time I get to that phase in my first draft, my writing goes very slow.
Um,
So it might take like, just 2 lines in a day, or maybe not even that. But
hmm.
once I get into the flow, then it's quite quick. So my Secret Santa that's a shorter story. And that book I wrote in 3 days. The first draft,
3 days.
3 days.
Wow.
3 days. And yeah, but that's a very short one, a short, sweet one. And after that, of course, the editing and everything, but still, I managed to release it within like 10 days.
Okay.
So that one was a
Wonderful.
quick, unplanned, absolutely unplanned book, and it just happened. So there you go, Ashi.
Great question, Afi. I think it just threw light on how different we are as creators.
Correct.
It's never one size fits all.
No, not at all,
And
not at all.
with one person also, I think it varies from book to book and story to story.
Totally, totally. Some stories are like, they write very fast. Yeah, you're
You're not.
not the only one. Sometimes we also take like forever. So,
We have another question from
Sudha,
Hayadullah.
yeah. Do you keep the length of your book in mind before drafting, or you just go with the flow and later add or delete scenes to get an appropriate number of chapters? So we always have an overall idea, Sudha, that whether it's a short story or a longer one. At least for me, I have that thing. But I do not go by number of word characters I would have. a lot of people focus on that, these many thousand words, these many chapters, or these many
Hmm.
pages I want to write. My story, like I said before, I have an idea and I just plan it out, and it takes shape. A number of chapters keep going up and down based on how
Hmm.
many point of views are there. How do you want the story to flow, and all of that. So yeah, of course, and editing, obviously, adding and deleting. I keep adding scenes during my editing. So just like, I keep adding. Then I'll be like, okay, I've added too much maybe. So how
This
about you,
length of
Manal?
the book, for the first book that I wrote, my debut novel, I did not have any length in mind. I just knew that, because as I mentioned earlier, I had the ending clear in my head. So from, it from one point A to point B, I was just trying to, justify that ending, how it came about. So
Correct,
with
correct,
that, I could never gauge कि कितने words लगेंगे या कितने chapters लगेंगे.
correct, correct.
You can never judge that. So for my first book, no. But consciously for the second book, I did keep at least a minimum number of words in mind. Ultimately,
Okay,
it became much more than that. But yeah, I had a minimum word count in mind. I had about something between 25,000 to 28,000 words in mind, but it ultimately became 40,000. So it can never, in my experience, it can never work for me when I have a word count in mind, because you can never judge how the characters are going to behave, or how particular scenes are going to pan out in the end, or whether they will be required, or you
correct.
might have to add or delete a few things later on.
True, 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 true. That's very true.
Thank you for such great. When reading a novel, do you check the length?
I do.
Shruti.
I do. So it depends, okay? If I'm in between writing, when I'm writing a book, I usually do not read too much.
Hmm.
So, but if at all I really want to read, then I try and pick up something short,
Hmm.
shorter one, just to like, get over, read something, get my mind off, and,
Hmm.
come back to my story. But other times when I'm not writing a story and I'm in between my books, then not always. I look at the blurb, I look at the author, and I go by that. But yeah, there are times when I pick up a book after seeing the number of pages on Kindle. Yeah. How about you?
Yes. Lately I do, because ये जो सब बोल रहे हैं ना कि लोगों का attention span कम हो रहा है, people are reading lesser and lesser. That's me. I am that. Yeah.
More
So
than
the shorter
attention
the book,
span,
the more likely I am to pick it up.
more than attention span, I guess time is a big
Time
factor.
also. Yeah.
For me,
Time is also
I'm
better.
I'm just running around doing, I don't know, I do not know why, but I do so many things at once that I end up with not having time for anything.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah, same here.
So yeah,
There's such a time crunch, no? That
correct, correct.
we tend to pick up, like reading छोड़ना भी नहीं है, पर
Exactly.
रीड करना भी है, तो कम टाइम में ये तो पतली बुक्स ही आएंगी.
Correct, correct, correct. When you have a lot of time, then I pick up all those 400 pages books and 500 pages books which I have marked कि ये कभी तो पढ़ना है. So
Hmm.
उनका फिर time आता है. It's like
Hmm.
you get to them sometimes.
Tanvi is agreeing with us and saying me too. Yeah, glad we are not the only ones. Yeah, we have one more question here. Who inspires you to write good stories? I I'm going to go first. I think for me, the books that I've read over the years and the authors that I have, consistently read and admired, I enjoy their books. I think they have inspired me to write good stories. What about
Correct.
you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the authors that I look up to, whose kind of every book I've read, I that's the inspiration that, someday I want someone to like, read all of my books.
Yes.
Like, go back to my books when they are in a reading slump, or just pick my book blindly that, oh, Ruchi's book, yeah, I'll read. So, that's the kind of ultimate aspiration that, because there are authors, you blindly just pick their books
Yes.
over the
Yes.
years, right? For
Yes.
me, most of them are mystery authors, but I just blindly go and pick their books. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think amidst this, we have forgotten the questions that we had for each other. I
Do you
don't
want to?
remember who asked the last question.
Uh, I think I asked you about the reading slump, right?
You did. So it's my
Hmm.
turn.
Hmm.
Uh, my last question to you is, this is an interesting one. It
Hmm.
requires a bit of creativity from your side. So the
Okay.
last thing that you read is the inspiration for the beginning point of your next story. What will be the beginning and what inspires you to give it that twist?
The last thing I read, which would have inspired me.
Like it becomes a beginning, or somewhere it forms a part of your next story.
Mm,
Also, of course, you have to tell us the
oh,
book.
mm, I rarely actually draw inspiration out of books because, like I mentioned, I read a lot of mysteries. And the
Hmm.
latest book that I'm reading right now is also a Perry Mason mystery. I've gone
Hmm.
back to classics. And I do not write mysteries. So I'm unable to, draw inspiration for my writing from my reading. So probably, not
Yeah.
from anything that I've read recently. How about you?
Okay.
Have
Okay.
you?
So I, alongside yours, I was reading Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. And
Okay.
if I had to draw inspiration from that, I would base my story in somewhere in Scotland. And yeah,
Yeah.
and talk of a similar place, or maybe some place uh, in the same place, but go back to its history. In the book, we do read about its history, but it's like, they don't clearly say it, but they are pointing towards it being fake. But I would love to go
Mm,
back to its history and, find out what actually happened there before
actually
the
happened.
author bought that place.
Lovely.
That would
Makes
be
sense.
fun.
Yeah. The other question I wanted to ask you, Manali, which I think you have already replied to, was whether you prefer short reads or lengthy novels. So I think you have already answered that one
Yeah,
for
yeah. I
us.
am the millennial and the Gen Z person that everyone is referring to. जिसका attention span धीरे धीरे कम हो रहा है. I will always go for shorter books.
So you should read all
Yeah.
my books. They're all very short.
पक्का. And after reading this, I think I've already read. इसके पहले भी I have read 3 or 4 books of yours, and I've really enjoyed those. I think I reviewed them also. So yeah, if time permits, I
Yeah,
would like to read the book.
my books are usually shorter than the normal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was such a fun conversation, and also
Yes.
I enjoyed it a lot because we had a quite active audience engagement.
Yes.
I must say.
Yes. Yes. I loved reading all the comments and answering to everybody who's like,
Yeah.
commenting in
And
between.
we also took a nostalgia ride
Oh,
back
yeah.
to the 90s
Back to
shows.
the 90s. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that was great.
That is,
So, Ruchi, thank you for joining me today. And, this was a
yes.
wonderful experience.
It
I
was so
hope
much fun.
we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, will try to.
Whenever
Yeah.
we have both written new books.
Yes. Yes.
So, thank you. And this episode will be up on my Instagram and on my YouTube channel. So, those of you who have missed some parts of it can always go back to the parts that you have missed. And also, maybe if you loved us too much, you can watch the whole episode again also.
Yes, please do that. Do watch
Okay,
it.
bye. Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Manali.
Good night.
Lovely talking to you.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Lovely connecting with you all.
Yes, bye.